Guys, I'm back with another video for you today, and I'm talking about the house of Le Galion once again. I spoke about the house about 2.5, 3 years ago, and I've reviewed 3 fragrances at that time, and I'm doing another video on the house today, and I really enjoy the fragrances of this house. I actually started talking about the house 9 years ago. If you search my channel, I did videos. I've got 4 videos already on the channel. One from 9 years ago, one from 8 years ago, one from 7 years ago, and then as I said, the one from about 2.5 years ago. And today I'm doing another video on this house, and we're going to talk about 3 fragrances. Folle, I think it translates to crazy water. Ferveur, which is fervor, like being passionate. And l'astre, probably butchering that, but it means the star. So 3 awesome fragrances. The first fragrance, Folle, created by Julien Rasquinet. The other 2 fragrances are created by Rodrigo Flores-Roux. And the fragrances come in the most gorgeous bottles now. As you can see, I absolutely love these bottles. They're designed by Pierre Dinand. And I discovered the brand for the first time at Javoy in 2014, and I think that's when the brand had just launched. I've actually printed out some history about the brand, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. You can skip ahead to the fragrances if you want, since I have done quite a few videos on the house, and I've actually also featured their fragrances throughout various videos. I think it's important to know the history about the house as well, because this is a resurrected house. It initially launched in 1930. Prince Murat, a descendant of Joachim Murat, brother-in-law of Napoleon I and King of Naples, founded Le Galion Perfume House. The first fragrances the house created were called Chypre, Indian Summer, Champ de Mai, Il n'est qu'à moi, Fougere, 111, and 222. So yeah, the fragrances have been around. Some have been redone. And this house is like a new neoclassical feeling. So it's a resurrected house, so there's the history it has, but a lot of the fragrances are very modern fragrances, like the fragrances I'm going to talk to you about today. So in 1935, Prince Murat sold his company to the perfumer Paul Vacher, who was already famous within the industry at that time. Born in 1902, Paul Vacher was studying chemistry when he realized that he had a gift for fragrance. Aged just 25, he started work with Marcel Guerlain, and then he later joined Lavandin. His role was to develop a new perfume business within the Lavandin fashion house. In 1927, he created for the launch, in collaboration with André Fraise, the wildly successful fragrance Arpège. Following this success, he decided to launch his own perfume house. So that's why it's important to know this history a little bit, because I like fragrance houses that I'm a big history buff, so I kind of connect with a lot of older fragrance houses. But again, some of the fragrances that they create are very modern. Like in the previous video I did, there was a fragrance created by Contambiche called Tolu, which is a linden blossom fragrance. So if you haven't discovered this house yet, please do. But let's continue with the history. 1936, soon Paul Vacher fragrances were all the rage. Sortilège, created in 1936, was an instant success when it was launched in Paris. The fragrance contained more than 80 natural essences and was one of the leading fragrances for the perfume house. Launched after the war in the United States at the prestigious Stork Club of New York, it proved enormously successful and became the signature fragrance of the club. Soon after, in 1937, came Bourrasque and 2 beautiful floral scents, Iris and Tuberose, or Eerie and Tuberose, all produced from the finest natural and raw materials. In 1938, as Europe stumbled towards war, the fragrance Broom encouraged women not to let go of their beauty rituals, to anoint the skin with few drops and to remain hopeful despite all of the hostility. So I feel like when they mentioned after the war, they were referring to World War I, because now we're getting into World War II. So in 1946, when Serge Heffler, Louis, and Christian Dior wanted to develop a fragrance for their fashion house, they naturally turned to Paul Vacher, who was at that time already recognized as one of the greatest masters of perfumery of the 20th century, alongside Ernest Beau, Ernest Daldroff, Jacques Guerlain, and Edmond Rudnitska. So Paul Vacher created for Christian Dior the beautiful Cypress fragrance called Simply Miss Dior. Cypress. That's what it says on the website. In 1950, Paul Vacher bought a mansion in Neuilly to house the production plant and offices of the Galion Perfume House. Over the next 30 years, Galion Perfume House provided Parfums Christian Dior with many raw materials, especially jasmine, rose, and neroli, and produced a concentrated formula from which Miss Dior and other fragrances were blended. Alongside his activities with Christian Dior Perfumes, Paul Vacher created fragrances for his own house, Special for Gentlemen in 1947, Frac in 1949, Lily of the Valley, and La Rose. By the way, Special for Gentlemen was the first fragrance I fell in love with from this house. I have a review in the previous video I shot. So this continues. And La Rose, both 1950, the very famous and well-named Snob 1952, and Whip 1953. This was the golden age of French perfumery. So if you guys are curious about this house, the fragrances are sold at Neiman Marcus, and I have it linked in the info box. But the 1960s, in the early 1960s, Christian Dior Perfumes turned once again to Paul Vacher, desiring this time a fragrance that had presence and strength whilst remaining extremely refined. Paul Vacher created Diorling in 1963. By this time, the Galion Perfume House was famous internationally, and by 1964, Sortilège was being sold in 97 countries worldwide. During this period, Paul Vacher also created 2 fragrances for Jean Dessay, Celui and Calispera in 1962. He also continued to create for Galion the Cologne Extra Viel in 1967, Galion d'Or and Vetiver both in 1968, and Le Noble in 1972. So in 1975, when Paul Vacher died suddenly in 1975, his daughter Dominique de Uresti, who had studied with her father and been in collaboration with him for a decade, became the nose of the house. In 1978, she created Megara in homage to her father. In 1980, Le Galion was sold to an American group, poorly managed. The company quickly collapsed. Gone with it was an image of France and of perfume, an image of elegance and quality. So in 2014, more than 30 years later, like the Phoenix, the Galion Perfume House is reborn. And that's when I discovered the brand for the first time at Javoy. They had just taken on the brand there. So Le Galion Perfume House is reborn from the ashes. Back are the original, exceptional, fiery, and subtle fragrances, rare luxury, and refined creations. So yeah, you can find videos throughout the channel now for some of those relaunched fragrances. In fact, from Javoy, I had bought a discovery set. I think it had like 7 fragrances, and that's where I smelled Special for Gentlemen for the first time and fell in love with it. And I think I also fell in love with their Vetiver, which was kind of like a Vetiver and Fougere combo, which was a really great fragrance. So in 2020, to celebrate the house's 90th anniversary, I can't believe they're 90 years old. I guess in 2030, they'll be 100 years old. Le Galion sets sail once again and unveils a new collection of 9 perfumes, 1 for each decade. This collection includes re-editions of its greatest successes, Soliflores and Prestige's new creations by renowned perfumers, once again honoring luxury perfumery and timeless French elegance. And then in 2022, the iconic Le Galion bottle experienced a revival, redesigned by the renowned Pierre Dinant and his grandson Jules Dinant. This redesign came exactly 50 years after Dinant had originally crafted the previous version, marking a significant moment in the brand's history. The new design pays tribute to the timeless elegance of Le Galion while embracing a contemporary aesthetic, seamlessly blending heritage with modernity. So if you haven't caught my video with Pierre Dinant, I shot a long chat with him, and then also I did a video on the book that was written by Michael Edwards showcasing some of his most famous bottle designs. And again, these bottles, I first saw this redesign of the bottles at Essence in 22, just after COVID had unlocked and then, we could travel again. So at that time I was like, dang, these bottles are so gorgeous. I didn't know, I think at that time I did know it was Pierre Dinant, but I think I really like his look. These bottles are very classy, I think. So now that I've gone over the history, let's talk about the fragrances finally. And again, if you are curious to discover the fragrances, you can click to Neiman Marcus and go there and, find out more about the fragrances. And if you want to order any, you can order some from there. But the first fragrance I'm going to talk about is called Eau Folle. Basically means crazy water. I think that's what it means. So this is created by Julien Rasquinet in 2025. I would call this an aromatic fougere or spicy aromatic fragrance. There's something very cooling about this fragrance, and it's, I don't know, there's like a subconscious feeling of relaxation whenever I put this fragrance on. Soothing is a great word, and I think some of the ingredients they use in this give you these kind of feelings. So it's vetiver, ginger, wormwood, lavandin, violet leaves, cedar, rosemary, geranium, basil, patchouli, and olibanum. So a lot of aromatic notes, woods, and spices are basically what's in here, and a little bit of a smokiness, give you a bit of a resinous, ambery smokiness in the dry down. And that's pretty much all you get. Of course, the patchouli is there as well, giving you that longevity that the fragrance needs, but again, it's all spicy, fresh, cooling, invigorating, aromatic green fragrance. And again, if you are a fan of Fougeres, you're going to really like this one. And as I was mentioning, if you put this on or smell it, there's something subconscious and cooling about it and relaxing about it as well. Soothing is the word, but there's like an energy that kind of comes to you when you're putting your nose to this fragrance, and instantly kind of wakes up your senses, invigorates, and cools you off. It's such an awesome release, by the way, and a very modern take on a fougere, but very green leaning, very aromatic, very herbal. There's a major herbal quality, and it's a who's who of aromatics in this, you know? We've got the wormwood, the lavandin, there's ozonic touches with the violet leaves, and that's giving you this kind of cooling experience. There's rosemary, there's geranium and basil. These are all really awesome herbs, herbal notes, aromatic notes that have gone in here to give you this kind of very soothing experience, bracing, kind of cool and green, sharp and like herbal, but a great creation and very modern take on a fougere. To me, it doesn't smell anything like Beau de Jour from Tom Ford. Doesn't smell anything like Houbigant's Fougere Royale. I just think that it's a very modern take on a great smelling aromatic fougere. Really nicely done. Let me know if you're familiar with this. If you're looking for something super spicy and also aromatic and herbal, aromatic and spicy, fresh, very, very fresh. It's a very fresh fragrance. Definitely try it. There's a bit of zing in here too. I should say it's got that zing. It's a bit of a kick. Super awesome scent. Anyway, that's Eau Folle from Le Galion. Add a comment below and let me know if you're familiar with that. All right, next up is my favorite of the three fragrances. This is Ferveur, and I wore quite a bit of this one. I really enjoy the way this one smells on me. So this is a Rodrigo Flores-Roux creation. I would call this an amber woody, or it could be amber spicy, amber resinous, smoky. All these come to mind, but we're going to go with amber woody for this one. It's created by Rodrigo Flores-Roux, and he created both of these fragrances, Ferveur and also Lastra. But Ferveur definitely is my kind of fragrance. It's intensely with a lot of amber. Sure, it gets a bit leathery in the dry down, but I like the smokiness that it provides, and it's just a really great kind of a sweet but smoky and leathery take on amber. So it features notes of Styrax, leather, incense, vanilla, Tolu balsam, iris, cypress, vetiver, cinnamon leaves, green, bergamot, clary sage, myrtle, coriander, rose, and patchouli. First thing that it reminded me of was a little bit of what Le Lion from Chanel smells like. This does have that reminder, but for me, I don't get, like, Le Lion kind of reminds me a little bit of Shalimar. This doesn't give me that kind of a reminder. I think that fragrance had that lemony citrusy top. This doesn't. This just goes right to resins and spices and balsamic notes and, vanillic ambery notes. It's quite dark, but I wouldn't say this is the darkest, because for me, when it sweetens up and gets ambery, it brightens up. Even though it's quite warm, resinous, it's a bit fiery and smoky. Along the way, there's aromatics and things like that. You've got the clary sage and the myrtle and the coriander in here, a little bit of rose. That all brightens it up, but it's all about the amber, resins, balsams all mixed together. Yeah, this does have bergamot, but I wouldn't say this reminds me 100% of Le Lion. It gives me the experience of that fragrance, but it's so nicely done. It's super awesome. Big fan of amber myself. Ambers are like a top 5 notes for me. And again, ambers are created by combining various notes. It's not one note. So you've got to take like labdanum and balsamic notes and resinous notes and vanilla to create this kind of amber accord. And that's what you get with this one intensely. It's super long lasting. It's super intense. I wouldn't call it the most syrupy, because it's got a bit of dryness about it. But as a smell, I absolutely love it. Definitely one of the best ambers out there. As you can see, I wore quite a bit of really enjoyed the wearing experience of this one. So that definitely is my number one favorite from the three I'm talking about today, followed by Folle. Folle, it's a great, fresh, clean, super ice cold and soothing, like something relaxing comes over you when you smell that one. All right, third and final fragrance, also created by Rodrigo Flores-Roux. It's Lastre, probably butchering the way I'm saying that, but it basically translates to the star. This is a 2023 launch. So this is an amber floral fragrance, and that's exactly what you get. Whereas with Ferveur, it's all resinous, ambery, leathery, and balsamic smoky. Here, it's much brighter. If you don't like that kind of a fragrance, maybe try an amber floral fragrance. But this fragrance has notes of ylang ylang, Tolu balsam, cardamom, jasmine, tuberose, orange blossom, amber, vanilla, suede, thyme, fennel seeds, and red ginger. So are you guys a fan of amber floral fragrances? These are quite popular. I think those of you that are men that don't like the floral experience in fragrances, try this one because I feel like it's quite unisex. Whereas Fervor to me leans on the masculine side. All the fragrances are unisex. I feel like this one is the most unisex out of all three of the fragrances because in the end, it does have a lot of white flowers, even yellow flowers like ylang ylang. And the reason I like this one, the third, I just clicked with the other two fragrances more. I mean, I enjoy amber floral fragrances quite a bit. I have some favorites of mine, but when I'm comparing it to the other two, I clicked with those two, especially with Fervor. And as I always say, I love amber fragrances. It's some of my favorite styles, and this would probably fit somewhere. And it's great because it's a nice fusion of not only jasmine and tuberose, but also orange blossom. And for me, I consider those floral notes to be on the fresher side with all these balsamic and resinous and ambery vanillic notes. So you've got this nice warm side and also a fresh side, a little bit of a tropical side with the yellow floral touches of the ylang ylang as well. Whenever I smell ylang ylang, sometimes it gives me a slight beachiness, maybe a slight tropical experience. Whereas I got that when you first sprayed it, it develops to become more deeper than that. You really experience the ambery qualities for sure. But when you first spray it, you get a little bit of that hint of something tropical because ylang ylang sometimes reminds me of the beach or maybe sunscreen or suntan lotion and things like that. So this does become a little leathery, but I would say not on the animalic side whatsoever. It's quite smooth with the suede note that's in here, but along the way there are some, spices and aromatics that come in as well. But for me, it's mostly about the white flowers, the jasmine tuberose, orange blossom with the ylang ylang and all of the ambery experience, the balsamic, resinous, vanillic side. So you've got this nice warm side, and I consider the floral notes more of a fresh side. So it's a nice balance of fresh and warm at the same time. Definitely a solid fragrance, I would say. It's not, I'm putting it at 3 because I have to, because I'm kind of ranking the collection that I'm talking about here. But I think very solidly done. I enjoy quite a bit of Rodrigo Flores-Roux's creations. I think he's done quite a bit for the House of Le Galion. I could have sworn that he did quite a few fragrances for this house. I have to do a little research, but again, for me in this collection, it's definitely Fervor. I really enjoy its smokiness. I actually really like smoky notes against sweeter notes. Ambers tend to be sweeter. It's a nice contrast for me, much more than amber and flowers, if that makes sense. But this is solid amber offering from the house, and I hope you guys get to try it. Try all 3 and see what it's all about, and let me know your thoughts on these bottles. Don't you think it's gorgeous? Especially when it has a darker juice in there. The bottles are just so super nicely designed by Pierre Denon. As you can see, this one's a lighter juice that doesn't make the bottle stand out as much as you can see the darker juice. But again, great house with a lot of history, modern fragrances now, and they did launch a lot of redos of some of their classics, but now they're focusing on some more modern offerings. And these are definitely some great fragrances. Let me know if you've experienced the House of Le Galion. Add a comment below. Which of the 3 fragrances sounds the best to you as well? Do let me know all of that and add a comment. And thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, guys, please list below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. Also click that bell so you'll be notified for future videos. And please give a thumbs up for this video to help with the algorithm. See you guys later. Bye-bye.